Today on Community Watch, I have a conversation with Monica Sheppard of Cecil T's Mercantile, great store on Broad Street in Rome. And she is also a bee expert, part of a community of women who raise bees. We'll talk about bees, these bees. So stay with us. Community Watch starts now. Welcome to Community Watch. I am thrilled to have with us today not only Monica Sheppard, but some of her very closest friends right here between us. Mm-hmm. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good.
That was quite an introduction.
Well, I'm not quite sure how to interview your friends. We haven't quite worked that issue out yet, but they're communicating.
Yeah.
I don't know if the folks at home can hear it. I certainly can. And we will be talking about these bees as well as your store.
Yeah.
Now your store has been open for a year.
A year. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy, but and the store is Cecil T's.
Mercantile is how I say it, but you can also say Mercantile. Either one. I prefer Cecil over Cecil, but other than that, you can say it however you want.
Yeah. Well, I think it says something about the store that it seems like it's always been there.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
I mean,
yeah.
It's a year.
Yeah.
Now, before we started, there were a couple of escapees.
Yes, and I just heard one buzz by a second ago. So
yes, it wants on camera badly.
Yeah. She's probably hoping for her day in the limelight, but she's going to the light, so she probably won't come too close.
Yeah. Well, so I know we've talked about this before, but remind me, what started all this bee behavior on your part? I mean,
So my dad is the catalyst for much of what we will talk about today because I grew up with him keeping bees, and I did not get in the bees with him much, but our basement, for example, was a honey production spot, and so there was frequent extraction of honey going on in the basement. And we would go, he had 4 or 5 bee yards at a time because in the Atlanta area, there's certain things you're going to get. And if you go to the Northeast Georgia mountains, you'll hit sourwood and some other stuff. And so he would have multiple bee yards. And so many of our weekends were spent going to Northeast Georgia to visit his hives and other locations. So I very much grew up with the beekeeping culture and with a love for that. And so it was only logical that I would go into keeping bees myself.
And you've been doing that
so
with a group.
Yeah, so with the Bee Shees, which is what we call ourselves, and that's myself and Andy Byer and Denise Champagne and my daughter Ramsey Cook when she's around. And we call ourselves the Bee Shees. We've been keeping bees together for coming up on about 15 years. And so it's so much fun to do something like that with your friends, because it's a really exciting, hard work, just very rewarding hobby to have, and to be able to do it with your friends is just a blast.
So how many hives do you have now?
So we currently have about 12 hives. And we have had more than that in the past, and we've had less than that in the past. One thing that I do think is clear is that it's a little harder to keep bees now than it was when Dad was doing it. And there's several reasons for that. But there's just a lot of factors that make it hard to keep bees. And even if you are doing everything right, quote unquote, you still can lose hives. And I like to say that there's 16 answers to every question in beekeeping, so how you're getting it right varies from person to person. So it's an interesting thing to do because of that, because there's no absolutes to beekeeping. There's a lot of different ways of doing it, different types of hives, different philosophies about treatment, and everything. There's different ways.
So
of looking at it.
when you lose a hive, does that mean they leave and go somewhere else? Or?
Sometimes, and sometimes it means that they die. We have had hives die from pesticide exposure. That's a big thing, and that's a big soapbox for me.
Yeah.
I like to talk to groups about the fact that when you have them come spray your yard for mosquitoes, they're not just killing mosquitoes.
Right.
And so the way that we interact with the natural world is very apparent now, because we have a lot of I like to use the dandelion as an example, because dandelions and clover are a really important early spring food source for bees and other pollinators. Mm-hmm. But we have literally been taught to believe that the dandelion is some evil, you remember from 1980s, 90s cartoons with the evil dandelion in the yard, and in fact they are very important food supply for pollinators in the early spring. And so I would love for us to get to the point that having a perfect monochromatic green lawn is less appealing than having some beautiful blooming things popping up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, don't worry, my lawn is fulfilling all the bees' wish list.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Well, and we have, we are a bee city. We got Rome designated as a bee city about 5 or 6 years ago. And through that Bee Rome program, we have a sign that you can put in your yard that says, "Pardon the weeds, we're feeding the bees," so that your neighbors will leave you alone about whether you should be cutting your yard or not.
I'll have to see if that will go over with Paula. I'll have to ask her about that. But the queen now, they all the bees follow the queen.
Yes.
Yeah. So if a hive leaves, does that mean the queen got bored and?
So no. A hive leaving can mean several things. It can mean that they don't like their home. It can mean that they don't like what's available to them. It can mean that they found a better place somewhere that they think is going to be better. But it also, the colony collapse disorder is something that you used to hear a lot about. That's kind of settled out, but they've kind of come down to the idea of a combination of stressors that can lead to that, and it includes pesticides and varroa mites, which are a pest that bees have to deal with now, and it's pretty prevalent and can really stress a hive. And so also there's hive beetles that can stress a hive. And so there are ways that the hive can decide, okay, this is not working and we're going to try and find another place. But also they can just fail, and die. And sometimes that looks like them leaving because maybe they leave in an effort to survive but don't make it, So yeah.
No, I know that you and your fellow beeshees will go out and capture a hive that is gathering somewhere.
Yeah, so, sorry. Is that okay?
Yeah, tell me about that.
So that is a swarm, and that is a natural process by which a colony decides, okay, we've filled up this home and it's time for us to divide and conquer. And that means half the colony is going to leave. The old queen will go with that group, and they will leave queen cells in that hive that will eventually hatch a new queen that will take over on the existing hive. And so this is the time of year for that to happen, and it usually involves them landing on a tree or in a bush, or it varies where they might park themselves. But from there, in a very tight cluster, they will protect the queen and wait while scout bees go out and try and find a cavity that they feel they can move into. And so that, can take a couple of days or less than a few hours. And so when you see something like that, a cluster of bees hanging somewhere, don't get upset. Don't start spraying them with stuff. Just get in touch with the beekeeper. And honestly, if all you can think to do is call Cecil T's Mercantile, then please do that, because if I can't do it, I will tell you someone who can.
Yeah,
so
you're connected.
Yes.
It looks a little scary to see all, and I've only seen photographs that you've posted.
Right.
In the hazmat suits. How tricky is that process?
So a swarm is about as docile as you're ever going to see a group of bees. And it's funny because in cartoons, you have this imagery of a whole cloud of bees chasing someone, you know. Yeah. It will look like that because they come in as a big old cloud of bees, but they are very, very focused on protecting that queen and finding a home. And so they are about as docile as you'll ever experience honeybees.
Yeah.
Honeybees are not aggressive anyway, because if a honeybee stings you, then she's going to die. And so they have to really feel threatened in order to sting you. Unfortunately, a lot of people, and I can be guilty of this as well, your reaction when you start feeling a bee buzzing around you is to start swatting and shaking your hair and, trying to freak out a little bit. That then makes them feel threatened. And so if you can stay calm.
But you have to, as a past victim of various stinging creatures.
Yes.
You have to determine, is this a honeybee or is this something less pleasant? Like a wasp or a yellow jacket.
So yellow jackets are just plain aggressive. But even a wasp or a hornet is kind of checking you out. And so if you hear something buzzing around you, if you can just calmly walk away, then you will likely lose their interest. Here's one now. I'm sorry that we have a few that are, exploring. That wasn't supposed to happen with this, but they've found a weakness in the system there. But
there needs to be an entry hatch.
There needs. It would be nice if there was a way for them to get back in. Yes.
Well, how much honey are you getting these days?
Well, that varies. It depends on the number of hives that we have. It depends on how much time we have to be present to giving them the space to fill. The way that you end up with honey for us to consume is by giving them the room to make extra honey. You never want to take all the honey that a hive has produced, because that's their food supply and it's the way they're going to get through the winter. And so this time of the year, we are frantically making frames and trying to make sure that we stay ahead of their honey production and giving them plenty of space for that. But it also can be dependent on environmental factors. So last year, we had a late freeze, and there was a lot of stuff that was budding and blooming at that time that was killed, or the buds and blooms were killed. And so, and that showed up late into the year because people with those pear trees in their yards suddenly didn't have any pears because the buds for the blooms got zapped by the freeze. And so that also impacted the honey harvest for last year because there wasn't much for them to harvest.
Well, we're coming up on our first break, and in our next segment, I want to focus on the store because it's a pretty amazing place.
Thank you.
But we will be right back with a lot more with Monica Sheppard, so please don't go away. And y'all, please don't go away.
Yes.
You stay right there. We'll be right back.
most affordable bachelor's degree in Northwest Georgia is right here at Georgia Highlands College. High quality and career focused. That's what you can expect at GHC. Apply today at highlands.edu.
Welcome back to Community Watch. I'm having a conversation with Monica Sheppard of Bee World, and also the owner and CEO of Cecil T's Mercantile. Is that right? Mercantile?
That's what I say, but Mercantile works also. I looked it up, and you really can say it either way.
Yeah.
So.
And I need to correct myself. Apparently, the vast majority of your bees are women.
Yes, yes. I don't think that you...
I don't know if I said it wrong or not.
No, I don't think you did.
Okay, but they are women.
Yeah, 90% of the hive is women.
Yeah, that makes sense in some cosmic way.
Well, and you should be glad that the world is not like a beehive, because in the fall, they tear the wings off of the males, the drones, and shove them out of the hive to die because they don't want to feed them through the winter. They're just a drag.
There's so many things I could say, but I'm not going to.
Yes.
That's great. Now, I have heard that other than supporting local business, that it is wise to use local area honey for immune reasons.
Yes, yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, so if you have allergy issues, if you eat locally produced raw honey, it has particulates of the pollen and of all these different plants that are blooming at that time. So if you have spring allergies, then you want to find some raw spring honey. The problem with that is that when the stuff is bugging you is when we are in the process of producing said honey, you know, and so if you can get it from the previous year, then that's good, but for us, we sell out of honey as soon as we have it, you know, and so, but there are lots of beekeepers in the area and folks that have, you know, but if you have fall allergies, you want fall honey. If you have spring allergies, you want spring honey.
Ah, so you need to research your honey a little bit.
Yeah. And that's true, like with many things. What you're getting in the grocery store is often not as pure and wonderful as the label claims. And a lot of times, unfortunately, honey in the store has honey from China, and it's been heavily pasteurized, and so it doesn't have all of those enzymes and the particulate things that are going to help you.
And I think, you know, we interviewed David Dellis not too long ago about his bees, and he said that some of the commercial honey is they use Caro syrup to stretch it.
Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah, it's I mean, obviously the shelf of honey at the grocery store is full of options, but I really don't think that any of them would have what you really want to get from honey, because to sell retail is a different animal, you know, and so the chances of it being pasteurized past the point of having any beneficial characteristics is very likely. So
now, do you sell honey at Cecil Tea?
Yes, we do when we have it.
Yeah, when you have it.
Yes.
Well, we got to talk about Cecil Teas because it is, you know, I was trying to think of how you describe the store, but it's difficult because you have such an amazing variety of things.
It's a unique combination.
It is, and I've been in there several times, but it's almost like a completely different store every time I've been. You know, as you've got new things or different things.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about it, and you know, why you decided to open a store.
So my first focus was that I wanted to open a place. You know, I co-direct the Chiaha Festival, And I wanted to open a place where I could showcase the things that you find at a festival all year round. And so that was the first catalyst for it. But I have wanted to do this for a long time. I've incubated it for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's funny because as my friends would ask me, well, tell me about the store. What's it going to be like? And it is hard to describe. I would have a really hard time explaining, well, it's going to have vintage. It's going to have, kind of a bit of a bee theme, but that's not all it's about. It's going to have local crafts and artists, that goes kind of broad with some folks, but it's pretty much all people that I know and have a relationship with and have loved their work, and so it's kind of me in a box a little bit, but that's silly to say, but it's if it's there, it's because I love it,
And for folks who don't know where it is, it's on Broad Street. It's at the south end of Broad Street.
In the Cotton Block.
In the Cotton Block, next to the Cosmic Dog. And I would say to folks that are looking for an unusual gift, not just every other gift, but something truly unique, for any occasion, they need to look at Cecil Teas first.
Thank you.
I think, for, weddings or showers or birthdays, you want to get something that's, remembered and that's unique.
Yeah, and that's different. Yeah.
And I think folks are guaranteed to find that in Cecil Teas.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I appreciate you saying that. Yeah. One of the biggest compliments that I've gotten since I opened the store is more than one man has come in with his wife, and after walking around for a while has said, I thought that I was not going to be interested in anything in here, but you've got really cool stuff. And so, we have a little bit of something for everybody.
And it's actually a bigger space than you would think from the outside. There's a room in the back, and there is no unused space.
Yeah. There's a huge storage area behind the store space, and I'm already moving into that a little bit. I'm in the process of setting up a vintage clothing area because we have carried some vintage clothing of various themes. One thing that I like to do is in the front window have a theme, and the first clothing focused one was cottagecore clothing, which is kind of prairie style dresses and stuff that's very popular right now. And it did so well that I started thinking we kind of need an area where I can have this stuff all the time. So I'm just having fun is what it really boils down to.
And you have some unique food items even in there.
Yeah, we've got the pies from the Pies and More Ladies. And you can find them occasionally at markets, but they are kind of getting weary of doing the markets, so we decided to try putting a refrigerator in and having their pies there. And so they deliver them on Wednesday and pick up whatever's left on Sunday and then come back with fresh ones again the following week. So it's really good stuff. Man, I have to be careful. But we also have Space Barn mushrooms, and we've got the Riverview grits and various corn products, cornmeal and popcorn and all that kind of stuff. We've got Barfield's hot sauces. We've got these wonderful mop sauce for grilling and relish product from a guy who grew up in Rome and has ties to the Askew family. And so we got their stuff. Just all kinds of things.
Well, when you said that it was at least in part inspired by your Chiha experience and what you could get at Chiha, you could get anytime at your store. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And Chiha was October, isn't it, every year?
Yeah.
So if you miss Chiaha, you know, you love going there, you miss it. You don't have to miss it.
That's
you
right.
Can go to,
That's right.
go
You
to
can come to Cecil
Tees,
Tees,
so.
yeah. And interestingly, like one of our artists is a guy out of Carrollton named Seth Fitz. And he used to do Chiaha. And he got to where he was successful enough that he didn't need to do outdoor art shows anymore. And so he quit coming to Chiaha. And I was thrilled to have him put his work in my store. And he does these beautiful, whimsical yet elegant animal illustrations. They're really, really fun and nice. And he is collected all over the world. His work was picked up by IKEA Europe, and they sell reproductions of his work in IKEA Europe. And so when he first announced that he was putting work in my store, I got an email from Germany wanting to order something to be shipped to Germany. It did not work out, but it's fun to have somebody that you may not have ever heard of, but that a lot of people have, and are
And
collectors.
they don't have to go to Germany.
Exactly.
They can just go to Broad Street.
Yes.
Well, that's much more convenient.
Yes. Well, and he's not in Germany; he's in Carrollton.
Right. But they love his work.
They love his work. So.
Well, that's great. And I was going to mention that you had quite a bit of artwork, folk art, and that obviously is something a lot of people are interested in.
Yeah. And I love that because, everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. But with artists, they're expressing their story through their work, and Lee Staven is another one that I love carrying his work. He was the art professor when Barry was setting up the Moon Building art program. And he went on from there to teach at Agnes Scott for a while, where he developed this screen printing process that was a whole different way of doing it. And we have his work from the 70s and 80s in the store. He's 90 years old now and comes to visit me on a regular basis and loves to talk about his work, and his work is absolutely beautiful. And prior to him telling me about it, it was living under his bed in his apartment. And so it has been a joy for me to get to know him and to put his art out there and help people see, a huge part of his life and his story. So.
Now, what are the hours for the store?
So I'm open 11 to 6 Wednesday through Saturday and 12 to 5 on Sunday.
And I didn't think to ask if you had like a Facebook presence.
Yes, yeah, we have a Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
And we're working on building a website, but that's not done yet. So.
Well, if there are folks who have not had a chance to experience your store, they really need to.
Yeah.
Really need to drop by.
As fun as it is to have this here between us, we have an observation hive actually attached to the window at the store, and so you can come and watch the bees up close and personal at the store. And
it's quite something to be up close and personal with these guys. These women. Excuse me. These women.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For bringing the bees, and also thank you for the store. It's something really unique on Broad Street.
Thank you.
Something really unique, and the rocking chairs are a nice touch too.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that even if it's just to sit out on the rockers out front, I'd love for you to come see me. Come and hang out. And yeah.
Well, thanks for being with us, and thank you for joining us this week on Community Watch. Stop by Cecil Tees, check them out on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll see you at the store soon.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time. Bye now.